Okay. Thank you, Brian. The format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee and snack break, and our main speaker. Our first speaker for tonight is Adrienne. Yeah?
Okay. Made it right on time, luckily, so sorry about that. This is my first time speaking, so I don't know. I usually do well at talking. I'm just going to keep on talking. But I'm Adrienne, and I'm an addict, alcoholic. Well, I guess I'll start, with a little bit about myself and my background. My mom is going to be the speaker today, and she's coming up on 19 years clean, so I'm very familiar with the rooms as a child growing up in, recovery and in the meetings, and I grew up in a women's and children's home, and I kind of obviously, as I got older, started to understand what, my mom was actually doing in my life, because growing up, I thought it was normal, basically, kind of being on the outside of the house while all the adults are inside, or they're all in a room, 20 different people in a room or whatever, and I thought that was just part of growing up, to be honest, but as you get older and you kind of do the work with your mom, you kind of realize what was really going on, so I was aware, and at some point, and I knew what drugs were, I knew what alcohol was, but did it, actually kind of, scare me? No, honestly, it didn't, because I kind of thought I knew better. I thought I was better then, or I knew better. I wasn't going to end up here on my own, really. So that's why I kind of was hard even getting myself here in the first place, because I kind of felt like, even though I'm proud of my mom and her success and going through and walking it through with her, to me it felt like a defeat to be able to admit that I need to be in these rooms now as an adult, even though I thought I knew everything being here as a kid. But anyways, I started, I didn't realize until you start doing the reflection and stuff, and some of the steps. But, I had my first drink when I was 12 years old, and my mom actually did find that out. And she had to sit down, talk with me and my friends. And that moment, it was a big party, but it was also a big mess. And there was a lot of ugly behind it, too. My mom doesn't know this, but I love telling her things that she doesn't know. And I'm like, you want to hear something crazy? Now that we're, honest, living an honest, rigorous program or whatever. So, here's another one for you. One of my friends, actually, she kind of, tried to, kill herself in a way. She took a bunch of pills and, went to the bathroom and just tried to pop them all. And, me and my friends, had to go in the room and, damn near take them out of her mouth and stuff. And it's, even that ugliness, I didn't realize how, how messy it was. And that was my first time drinking. I remember I drank out of straw, out of a Four Loko, upside down, in a handstand, because we all wanted to get as drunk as we possibly could. And trust me, we fucking did. So there was that. Sorry. But so, that from that experience moving forward, you could only imagine how much crazier it got. And it's going to little parties here and there. And, obviously drinks were involved, started smoking weed. Yeah, I mean, looking back, even when I was 16, getting 40s with my neighbor and drinking outside, and I was always a binge drinker. I always drank the most I can, never knew when to stop. So, 19, 20, I was already in the bars with the underage ID, fake ID, whatever. All my cars basically crashed, definitely banged up. Actually, one of my mechanics is in the rooms of recovery, and he would always tell me, don't crash this one, when I would bring him a new one, or don't mess this one up, keep this one pretty, keep it nice. And it's I end up in the rooms of recovery. He's yeah, I know. And he knew before I did, my own fucking mechanic. But, yeah, so then it's I went to jail for my first time when I was 20 years old, and it was for public intoxication. So, red flag number one. And I had to go to the rooms of AA, and I just really went to get my little, court card, whatever. I never really thought to myself, oh, I'm an alcoholic, and my mom would try to, bring that, conversation to me, but it was always just no, I know better, or no, I have it under control, or no, I'm just young, and I'm partying, and I'm having fun, and this is what kids my age do. But, obviously now looking back, it was not normal. It was never normal. So then after that, 21, I got a DUI in Santa Barbara, actually. And my mom didn't know about that for a long time. I didn't call her. I never called my mom when I was in jail, honestly. She was never I really didn't call anyone. I just kind of stuck it out. But then I come home, and I think it took a couple of months for me to finally tell her. And she helped me through and go to the court and figure that shit out and all that stuff. And honestly, that was a big lesson for me, and kind of a big like reel it in and like look at my life. And maybe at that point I kind of was like, okay, maybe I do have a little bit of a problem. And I kind of like slowed it down and try to figure shit out and do better. But it didn't really last long because then I kept partying. And like, disclosure, I am a DJ. So once I decided to live a life as a DJ, I also thought like, okay, like, you know, I wouldn't drink before my sets. But then all of a sudden it's like I'm drunk at my sets. And I started dabbling with other things, specifically like cocaine. And that shit definitely, like, I always thought that, you know, just like that's kind of like a party, like recreational drug that your friends have here and there. And eventually you end up just letting it take over your life. So the age of 21 to 23, I feel like that's like, it started like little things here and there where it was like, oh, then my friends just had it. Now I have it. Now I'm doing it all the time. And basically, wait, so I have 5 minutes? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so now I'm doing it all the time. 24 comes along and I'm like, okay, like this is looking really ugly and I think that I have a problem. But was I ready to do anything about it? No. So I like obviously didn't really tell anyone. Isolation, like neglecting all your priorities, neglecting your family, neglecting yourself, giving up the things that you love, the things that you care about, giving up yourself, your soul, your passions, everything. I just was like slowly becoming less of a person. I was becoming a shell of a person. And I think that, you know, people started to notice, and I definitely lost friendships. I lost relationships with like family members and just people in my life. And I think that like one thing that like, you know, when you try to like blame other people for your like addiction, like I always told myself like, oh, well, if my mom is in recovery, she knows what this shit looks like. She was doing worse at this age than me. So I'm good. I'm fine. Like, and if she's not going to have that conversation with me, like, yeah, she kind of try to be like, be okay out there. Be okay when you do this stuff. I always said it was Molly for some reason. I thought that was like a good excuse to say like, oh, I'm doing drugs without really doing drugs. But, so, yeah, I felt like she was always like, we never had that real conversation, so it kind of made me justify my use and to keep doing it. And anyways, so the last year when it was getting like really, really ugly and shit was catching up to me, I ended up getting 2 DUIs in 1 year. And I didn't tell my mom again. And it wasn't until, you know, she had to kind of kick me out of the house because she was finally like understanding of what was really going on in my life that, you know, she's getting all of my mail and I can't hide it from her. So now she's getting these DUI letters in the mail. And so she basically, that's how I find out, like, oh, my aunt told me, like, obviously your mom knows, like, she's getting all your mail and shit. So at that point, you know, my mom luckily, like, kind of just came of a point of, like, support. And she really is the reason why I'm in these rooms, funny enough, because I never wanted to come to her to be the one to help me. You know, I always wanted to hide it from her, but she's the one that, like, supported me through this. So she found me a good outpatient, and I had to get shit done. I had to get ahead of it because otherwise I'd be in jail right now. And I barely made it through by not going to jail, honestly. So I have a lot of shit that I'm dealing with, the repercussions, the consequences because of it. But like, gratefully, I get to do that. Gratefully, I get to face my consequences. Gracefully and luckily and thankfully, I get to take accountability, and I get to do this with support, with my family, with a program, with friends like that are sober, with like the love that I have for myself, with the strength that I have with my God, that I got to do, that I got to have a relationship with Him, and like just the power that I feel, and the peace that I feel, and the strength, like knowing that I'm like going through this. It's fucking scary facing your consequences and having to take accountability. I never really did that in my life, so it's the fear, yes, but over it all, I just felt a sense of like strength, like God actually has my back no matter what. And that is a beautiful thing to have in recovery, and just in general, it just kind of comes like along the way. If you just like allow it a little bit, because I grew up in church, but I kind of turned away from God a long time ago. So to have Him back, or whoever you say is your God, just to have that peace with you, slowly, like all of a sudden you look to like behind you and you're like, oh, okay, like I do have someone watching out for me. That's an amazing feeling. And yeah, it's beautiful to be in the rooms of recovery. I feel like when I went to the detox, you know, I didn't really do it. I did it because I had to do it, really. And I didn't really know what to expect from it. I definitely didn't expect to have like my life back or myself back or like all of my passions. You know, they really do say things come to you, and it's like slowly but surely. And it's like somewhere along the way in the detox, I was like, okay, like I decided for myself, I'm taking this serious. Like, because one thing about me is I like a challenge almost, or I like to learn the hard way. So I thrive under pressure, and I thrive when I put myself in the corner. Like, that's when I do the best. So I put myself in the farthest corner that I can, and I am pulling myself out of that. And like, my decision was, am I going to do it like kicking and screaming and white knuckling, as they say, or am I going to do it like happily and gratefully and like because I can and because I get to? Like, that perspective shift is like all the difference, really. And ever since then, I've been I think like I have a great time in recovery. Honestly, it's fucking fun for me. I have like every day I feel like I have something to do now. I'm busy as fuck. That's why I made it 3 minutes late, because I'm, roller skating with my friends and we're like doing things sober and stuff. And it's like, I don't know, it's just hard to like really say, but it's just like, thankfully I do have a life now, and it's like full of priorities, full of responsibility, full of just like fun. Actually, it's like, if you want to make recovery fun, you have to look for it. You have to grab it. You have to find it. You have to find your passions. You have to find what you love. You have to lean on the people that you love, and just like take life for what it is. Like, we were made to exist in this life. We came this life without substances. So learn how to live that life without substances again. And that is like a fulfilling life in itself. That's how we came to live on this earth. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, thank you. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now our main speaker will share his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please join me in welcoming Angelique.
Hi, I'm Angelique, an alcoholic, grateful recovering alcoholic. If we could just take a moment of silence for the alcoholics still suffering in and out of these rooms, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. That moment of silence is such a gift, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times some meetings don't have the moment of silence. I feel like a lot of times we just rush through the moment of silence. And I know that I was prayed into these rooms, as we all were. I know that it is a gift to have my daughter come alongside me and share this message for her part of the journey, right? Like, when they asked me to come and share and they said I needed to bring a leader, of course I wanted to ask my daughter, because the newest newcomer is the most important person in this room. So welcome to the newcomers. Welcome to a new way of life. You don't ever have to drink again, even if you want to. I'm super grateful that I don't want to drink. I've lost the desire to drink. And because of that, I have an opportunity to have a new way of living. And it continues to expand and change. And so I'm just going to qualify real quick. I was an alcoholic before I was ever an alcoholic, because it was the solution to all my problems. Problems that I'm still like pulling out of the basket. I grew up in a home where both my parents were addicts and alcoholics, and I didn't know it at the time. All this stuff is now because of the process of recovery, of working the steps and continuing to pull things out of the basket, right? I grew up in a space where, my mom left my dad at an early age, and all of a sudden she had a new boyfriend, and that was my new daddy, and I fell in love with him, and he was my daddy before I even, I even really knew him. I just wanted him to be my dad. He was like the greatest person in my entire life, and but the behavior in the home was really just like unsettled. I remember going to this place and seeing my dad, and my mom said it was a hospital, but we were seeing my dad in jail, my new dad. We were seeing my new daddy in jail, and I didn't know that at that time, but all the little things that were happening, little things around the house, the behaviors that I started to acquire, this is something that just came out of my step work just a few days ago, actually. I get told a lot of times that, you have a nice voice. I'm an esthetician. I work close to people's faces. I'm doing lashes, doing facials, all the things. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, your voice is so nice. It's so soothing. It's so calming and all the things. And I'm like, thank you. I love that. Great. I should get a phone job. but I just came to realize that my voice, the sound of my voice, isn't necessarily because I was blessed with this beautiful voice. It was a voice that came with survival. It came because this was also something that came up in my step work recently was my girls. I have two beautiful girls. I'm grateful that I did not step into the rooms of recovery for them. I stepped into the rooms of recovery because my life was completely unmanageable and I had lost my desire to live the way that I was living anymore. It was chaotic. It was ugly. I didn't know how to stop, and I stumbled upon the rooms. And but like, you know, my girls, it's funny because like I hear them. They walk down the hall, and they're both pretty. You know, they're small. They're small girls, but they walk very heavy. They walk like. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, because I walk so like timid, right? Like you can't hear me when I'm coming down the hallway really. Actually, I've been kind of practicing walking a little heavier just because I kind of want to like move past this little thing that I have. The voice, the soft voice was because I'm paying attention to the environment, right? Like I'm paying attention to how people wake up in the morning and they don't have their things. So they're volatile already. They're first thing in the morning, they're grumpy, they're irritated. And I'm paying attention to how you're acting so that I know how to act. I'm paying attention to how you're going to wake up so that I know how to walk or not walk too loudly because I don't want to wake anybody up, right? Or wake them up and them come to in some kind of crazy mood and now I have to figure out how to make them feel better, right? So that was just like a little touch back on that space. Early on, I did not do all the things that all my friends were doing during high school and junior high. And like my daughter, like, wow, thanks for sharing. I can't wait to hear more. I love the value of the honesty. Okay, so I'm not even going to lie. Coming here, when they told me I was coming here, I'm like, Manhattan Beach, dang, Manhattan Beach is bougie, right? How am I going to relate? Like, all of a sudden, the disease is trying to separate me, make me not be able to talk to you the way that I want to talk to you because I'm afraid that you might judge me, or there's too many ladies in this room, or there's, you know, whatever it is. But I'm going to get raw, and I'm going to get honest, because guess what? That's where my freedom comes from. And I don't want to come up here and, like, sugarcoat shit and tell you a story about something that isn't really true. Like, I want you to know what it really looks like for me, because that is where the freedom comes, right? So I didn't do all the things that my family did or that my friends did, and I wasn't allowed to. I was raised in a very strict environment. I didn't get to do all the things that my friends did. They were partying, they were drinking, they were doing all the things. And I was raised in a very perfectionist household. I had to get the good grades. I had to be the good daughter. I had to have a quiet voice. I had to be, I had to do all the things. Make sure that you were okay no matter what. As long as I look good, you look good. But if I don't look good, then I'm bringing shame on you. I'm making you upset. I'm making you uncomfortable. And my entire life was built around that, right? Which ultimately, like, without the tools that we are given around here, like, I am suffering inside because I can never make everybody happy all of the time, no matter what. And that is something that I eventually ended up drinking and using over, right? Like, I didn't start drinking when everybody else did, but when I did finally get a little taste of it, and I didn't even love alcohol. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, like, I did not love alcohol, but the way it made me feel, like, I drank fast and hard for effect. Like, everybody was drinking off the keg, and I'd bring my little wine cooler pack because I was that girl, and then somebody would take one, and somebody would take one. Next thing you know, I only have two. So, like, the first way that I learned how to drink, like, drink not like a lady, was a 10 count off the keg, like, because that's how I could get it down the fastest and the hardest, right? Like, get it in as fast as you can so you can get there as fast as you can. And that was ultimately the goal, was not to feel the way that I was feeling. And I didn't even know the way that I was feeling. Like, I didn't even know where it came from. I didn't even know why I was so uncomfortable. I didn't even understand that, like, the way that I felt in my home did not feel received, did not feel safe, did not feel welcome, did not feel like I was being supported or encouraged or acknowledged. The way that I grew up in a really tiny town in Arizona, it's called Bullhead City. If anybody knows, raise your hand. Laughlin, okay, we're right across the river. So I grew up there when there was no stop signs. There was one grocery store. It was a very tiny, tiny town. I was the only brown girl in the entire school. I didn't even know this till I looked at pictures like some years into my recovery. I'm like, how come I'm the only brown girl there? All the cheerleaders were white and I was the only brown one. But I always knew that I didn't fit, right? Like, I always knew, and I grew up I graduated in 1990. I knew I did not match the girls that I went to school with. Everybody had like blonde hair and straight, and they were feathering it and doing all the things. And this is what I got. This is what I got. And, you know, like we didn't have straighteners back there. We had irons. We would iron our hair. We would blow dry it out like this. And I did not match. I did not fit. I did not fit the quota of what everybody around me was, and I wasn't allowed to go out, and I wasn't allowed to participate, and I was just excluded from a lot of things, and probably rightfully so, right? Like, God forbid I would have started that journey a little bit earlier, but by the time I hit the streets and started drinking and started partying, it was just full force, and I don't want to stay too long in my drink-a-log. I just want to kind of qualify and take you from the beginning to the end real quick, like, I drank fast and hard. I drank fast and hard until and I'd feel it right away, right? Like I'd drink and drink and drink and drink. And within 10 minutes, like, okay, maybe half hour, all of a sudden I'm going to the bathroom to like stick my finger down my throat because I did not love the way the alcohol made me feel. I did not love when I went from 0 to 60. I only liked that little middle space, right? There was only that little tiny space in the middle where I was like, oh, this is good. And the next thing you know, I'm like, oh God, I can't walk. So I'd go in the restroom, I'd go stick my finger down my throat. It was this vicious circle just to try and get the rest of what I just threw in there back out because I couldn't manage. I couldn't walk. So eventually, there came too many of those days where sticking my finger down my throat didn't relieve me from what I had already put in. It was already too much. I was already too far gone. And of course, then the substance came into play. The substance ended up taking a large part of my life in segments. Like I kind of, without ever knowing about recovery, I drank and I used. And then I stopped for a while and I only used because, you know, like we switch from one to the other, right? Like maybe on the weekends only, but like then the weekend turns into Monday and you got to go to work and blah, blah, blah. All the story. I'm sure we all know it. At the end of my disease, alcohol became the alternate to whatever I had chosen at that point. Like, you know, it was like, I remember when I first got here, I was like, I'm not going to say I'm an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict, you know, like, because I thought that was better. Like, I thought it was cooler, right? And I would actively not say that because I was embarrassed to be an alcoholic. But truth be told, like, if I ever got a stupid idea in my head, it wouldn't be to go out and do a fat line or smoke a joint. It would be like to throw back a margarita on the rocks with salt. Like that would be the first thing that I would do. And I know I wouldn't do it just one. I would do it because the one would take me out and then I'd go on a whole entire road trip of nonsense. But at the end of my disease, I was doing that. I was drinking myself to death. I was using myself to death. And the people that I was surrounding myself with were fun. They were a bunch of wild characters, and I had found myself in a position where I was not self-supporting, right? Which is such a valuable thing around here. Not even just like self-supporting as people, but the seventh tradition states that every group should be fully self-supporting, not just financially, but how we show up and make coffee and set up chairs and greet people at the door. Like that is how we're self-supporting. So if you can't put $1 in the basket, find something else to do to be of service because we're saving each other's lives here. It is a gift to be here. It is a gift to be able to show up and be of service to somebody else. It's a gift for me to be able to come here. And for my daughter, like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so freaking proud of you. I'm so grateful that you're here. Like, it is a gift beyond my wildest dreams. I thank God that I did not get here for her, though, because I told myself, I remember saying, man, if I get clean for these kids, I'm going to get loaded because of these kids, right? And it's true. Like, that story, all the things that I've gone through in this journey, I would have gone back out 1,000 times because the hurt of being a mother and the hardship of not knowing how to do it properly would have taken me out. I didn't know how to cope. I did not know how to manage. I did not know how to feel my feelings and not feel like a failure because I was raised in an environment where I was required to be a certain something, right? So at the end of my road, I might say some things that you never heard before too, girl. At the end of my road, I'm going to finalize this little part. At the end of my road, I couldn't pay my bills. I had 2 kids, a bunch of cats, and And everything that she said about like, everybody being in the room, like I thought I was being a good mom. I thought I was being a good mom because I'm like, oh, they're calling me. Everybody stop. I'd run out there, take care of them, give them the toys, give them the food, give them the snacks, turn on the TV. Everybody good? Okay, good. And then I'd go back in the room. I'm thinking like, as long as I'm running as soon as they're saying mommy, I'm present, right? But actively, no. Like actively, no, I wasn't present. So at the end of my disease, like I said, I didn't have the ability to be self-supporting anymore. And I had been surrounded by some shady characters that had some really brilliant ideas. And they decided to share them with me. And I was open. I was fully open. And I was like, my friend said, I'm going to have somebody come over and we're going to have a little talk. And we're going to tell you, well, this was going to be my next great job employment. So my prospective employer came over and decided he was a pimp, right? He came over and he decides to tell me like what's going to happen, what the get down is going to be. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but this is my truth and this is what gives me freedom. So call your sponsor. I had a pimp over. He decides to tell me the whole story. And this was my first experience of God doing for me what I could not do for myself, that I remember, that I know, that I had an actual experience with. And he tells me the whole get down. And I'm crying the entire time because I've always had a God of my understanding in my life. I've always had a connection with the God of my understanding. And even in the darkest places, I knew where to go. And he tells me this whole story and I'm crying the entire time. And as I said, I was raised in an environment where I didn't get loving words. I didn't get encouragement. I didn't get support. I didn't get you're pretty. I didn't get you're smart. I didn't have those things which are so valuable for us to give our children or each other. You know how many times I meet somebody in the rooms and they have no idea how to take words of encouragement or affirmation. They get so uncomfortable and want to run away from me because I'm like this lady that wants to throw flowers on you and be like, you're so beautiful. You're so smart. But at the end of that conversation, I'm crying and he says to me, you know what? Give me a call when you're done crying because nobody's going to want to pay for a piece of ass that's crying the entire time. And in that moment, I'll tell you what, I wasn't like, yay, I'm saved. I was like, damn, I got rejected by the pimp. Like, I straight got rejected by the pimp, but like I'm so grateful that I did because that was the moment that God stood in. Because it could have been any pimp, right? Like you see like on LA Law or whatever the shows are where they're like it's a crazy pimp and they see a crying girl and they're like, let's go, bitch. And it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Thank God it wasn't me. But in that day, I'm grateful that I cried, I prayed, I slept, I cried, I prayed, and slept, I cried, I prayed, and slept. When I say it like that, I say it because it was 3 days. And I could never make it past 3 days. I could never for the life of me, no matter how many times that I wanted to stop drinking or using, I could not stop doing it past 3 days. And in my mind, because of the God of my understanding and the relationship that I have and the belief system that I have, the death and the rising came in the 3 days, right? So I hold that personal to me personally. Like I died to myself those 3 days and I prayed and I begged God, like if I'm ever going to think about putting anything else in my face, please, I want to be sick. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. And I packed up a U-Haul. I packed up my 2 kids. I packed up the cats. And I had my little bit of whatever substance that I had left. Because, you can get alcohol anywhere, right? It's so acceptable. It's such a social norm. It's gotten worse. I feel like since I stopped, it's gotten worse. But so I took my little things that I had my little this thing and my little that thing, and I had my little this thing, and I got on the road, and I came to the rooms of recovery. Somebody shared to me to go to like a meeting, and I remember I was in a hotel room with my daughter. Oh wait, let me back it up a second. I had 2 daughters in my custody at that time. One of them was removed from my custody to go live with her dad under the pretense of, I'm just trying to help you out. By this time, I had 2 weeks clean, about-ish, and if anybody knows about what that looks like, it's sleeping a lot and moodiness and all the things. You're coming off of whatever substance you're coming off, it's not pretty. Your face breaks out, you're grumpy, like everybody sucks and you suck and all the things, right? So one of my children was removed from my custody, and in that moment, I really considered it the moment that God did for me. Again, what I couldn't do for myself when I said I want to be sick, when I want to be physically ill, if I think about it. ever again, please let that be the case. And this was the moment where my feet dug in, and somebody had suggested to go to a meeting, and I did. And the crazy thing is I'm still like this parent, right? This parent that shows up this much and not that much. And so we're in a hotel room with all the stinky cats, and I have my little girl, she's 9 at that time. And I'm going to go to this meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning over there in Lomita. It's the, nope. 254th? Yes. Great meeting if you ever go that way. I rollerbladed there. I rollerbladed to that meeting. I left my daughter at the home so that I could hit this meeting. I show up there all jacked up and desperate for something that I didn't even know. I did not know when I came here that I was going to have a spiritual awakening, and I'm so grateful for that part of it. I ended up moving into a sober living home, a women's and children's home, as she had mentioned. And I'm so grateful for that experience, because the women and children there that had been there before me had a little bit more than what I came in with, right? And that's all we need, is somebody else who has a little bit more than what we came in with. I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to continue to be open so that I can expand and grow. And I moved into that space. We had a hard time. Like, it wasn't just getting clean and sober. It was like getting parentally correct. And I'm learning how to say no. Somebody suggested early on, I heard them say, if you're a member of Al-Anon, to stand up. What a freaking fantastic program. Like, that program, I wish I would have listened when they told me early on, maybe you should go to CODA. Maybe you should go to Al-Anon. I was like, no, we're already doing too much around here. We're only going to do this, and that is all. I had my first sponsor. I worked the steps with her, and I got this much freedom. And that is not, that I'm not saying that to say that that's all the freedom that you're going to get. I'm saying that to say because that was all I was willing to give up. I did not have trust. I did not trust that the things that I came in here with, I was going to tell you about, and that you weren't going to go tell her about, or him about, or then him was going to come to me. Because let me just tell you, like, in the midst of all of the behaviors that I'm dealing with, I'm learning about how I manipulate. I'm self-destructive. I have self-esteem issues. I have value issues. I have intolerance. I have judgment. I have all these crazy things, right? And all of the things that I have, like, there's this space. I don't know if anybody's ever read the book Drop the Rock. Hey, isn't that a great book? Holy crap, because I'm in my 6th step, right? And let me tell you a story real quick. Everybody's on the boat, right? All these people are on the boat, and they're like, the boat's taking off, and they're like, Mary, hurry up. And Mary's like running, and they're like, just jump in the water and swim. And she like jumps in the water, and she swims, and she's swimming as fast as she can, but she's like getting tired, and she's getting weighed down, and they're like, just drop the rock. And she's like, I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but she just keeps swimming, but she keeps sinking, right? And I'm saying this so I can kill two minutes. So they're like, come on, Mary, just drop the rock. Don't be stupid, just drop the rock. And Mary keeps swimming, but she keeps on inevitably sinking. And at some point, while she's swimming and frantically trying to get through the waters to get to this boat because they just desperately want to pull her in, she feels something around her neck, and she's like, oh, what's that? And she looses one of the ropes, not realizing that it's insecurity. Not realizing that it's self-condemnation, not realizing that there's resentment, not realizing that it's all of these things, the reasons that I got loaded, all the reasons that I drank, all the reasons that I continue to abuse myself, right? Like, because you guys can't do that to me anymore. Like, it's me. Like, I am so grateful for the fact that I finally stepped into the codependence program, because, man, it has showed me. When they said, as a codependent, that you're a manipulator, that pissed me off. But I did not realize that I was like intentionally manipulating, but actually you're manipulating in order to control an outcome. I want everything to go the way that I need it to go, because that way I know that it's safe, right? And this is how I was raised, in this environment of making sure that everybody's okay. It isn't just like the unmanageability of taking care of you before I take care of me. It's the unmanageability of like controlling the outcome. Let me just tell you, when this little girl first went to her first DUI at 20 years old. Mind you, we're in court on her 21st birthday. And guess what I did? I'm like, let's go take a little field trip. We're going to go to Santa Barbara. We're going to get a room. We went parasailing because God forbid I wanted to ruin her 21st birthday, even though we were going to court for a DUI. No consequences. Like I'm telling you, when I say that I had the lack of ability to stand in my own truth because my voice was never heard. My voice was never acknowledged. My voice was never given value. I continued to be like that with my children, right? So raising children with no no's, not any no's, very few no's. And if I said no, it was usually followed by a yes shortly after. I take your phone for 2 weeks, you get it back in 2 days. Like, you're on restriction. No, you're not. You beg me 1,000 times, I'm going to definitely say yes. I'm super grateful that in this program, that because I'm aware of the weakness of my throat and my inability to say my truth, it has chosen the wrong partners. It has created relationships that are unstable, as far as like, I might need you to wash the dishes, but I'm not going to ask you. So instead, I'm going to stomp around or close cupboards hard or sweep the floor even harder so the carpet comes up, because I don't know how to ask you for what I need. I don't know how to tell you what I need. So instead, I'm going to be pissed off because, not because I know that I can't ask you, but because I just actively can't ask you. I don't even know that it's actually a vicious cycle in my head. I don't even know that it's making me sick, right? And then I end up raising these two beautiful girls that have no idea what it means to have accountability or consequences, or I create enabling, right? Like, I start enabling them. I want to fix it before it hurts you. Like, I want to pay the tickets off before they hurt you. And all of a sudden there's no idea of what it actually feels like to hurt, because I'm too busy putting a Band-Aid on it before you even knew that it hurt. It hurt, not hurted, hurt. So that's just a tiny little piece of the gift that I've gotten in recovery. Is I am standing in my truth as a woman. I am standing in my voice. I am recognizing the types of people that I have drawn in. And right now I'm currently doing some work besides my 6 step. Let's just talk about that again real quick. So became entirely ready for God to remove these defects of character. Like, God, I'm so ready. Like, I wrote the list down, right? And I pulled up that sheet of like 190 defects of character, and I'm like, damn, that's a lot of stuff. Thank God I don't have that and that and that. But then when I started writing down the things that I have, right? And I'm like, thank God that they're not as pronounced as they were when I first got sober. My sobriety date is April 29th, 2007. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. I have a sponsorship family that I'm super grateful for, because if I don't have my sponsor to call, I have a sister to call. And I have a God that I call on a daily basis. But let me just tell you, if I'm not spiritually well, me and God, we aren't talking. We are not talking. And that is generally my first place to go is God. And so, like, when I start getting disconnected from the God of my understanding, I know that it's because I'm not in a space of spiritual fitness, because there's something going on that I'm not willing to be honest about, right? So going into that 6 step, looking at the fact that I'm entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, doesn't mean that he's just going to pluck them out. Like, they're not just going to magically be erased from the board. From what I believe is that I have an opportunity. So let me just tell you how many opportunities on a daily basis that God is putting these different experiences in my life so that I can see what no, I'm not a messed up person. I can see how the disease can continue to mess with me in my daily functioning, right? Like, how I can continue to close off my voice, not say what I need, not ask for what I want, and that's not honest. Like, when I first came here and they're like, oh, are you honest? Yeah, I'm super honest. I never lie. I don't lie. I'm cool. Not being able to profess your feelings or your thoughts or the things that you need is not honest. Like, you're generally starting out a story that people are going to follow you on because they're trusting you to be honest about whatever it is that you think or you need. And then when you drop the ball and you're like pissed off because they didn't do what you wanted them to do, like, there's no anyways, I'm going to go into a different direction. So now, today, how far are we? Oh, hi. Holy crap. 18 Okay, let's go. All right, God. All right, God. You got this. Okay, are you ready? So, going back to the relationships, right? I pick men that I can take care of. My last sponsor told me that there's a superiority complex in that. That pissed me off. But it from a lifestyle of taking care of people all the time, it felt natural to want to, right? And in my mind, I'm like, I'm this loving, nurturing woman. I want to feed you. I want to do all the things. But like, I would pick men that could not show up for me in the way that I would today want a man to show up for me, right? So I was in a relationship for 8 years. I'm going to say 6 years because I stepped out of it 2 years ago. I went back to it for a year and then stepped out of it just fairly recently. And I'm not saying that because of because there's no love there. I absolutely adore this person, but I did not come in the same woman that I am today. I'm a different woman than I was when I chose this relationship. When I got into this relationship, I got into it because both my girls were grown up and kind of not fully grown, but like 18, and one was starting high school. My youngest one still was living with her dad until just almost 3 years ago, right? And this one, she had a little car and she took off and I never saw her again. And then my youngest one was doing all the school activities out there in Riverside. All of a sudden, my hands were empty. All of a sudden, I didn't have anybody to focus on and fix and take care of, right? Because that's part of my nature. That's what I've done my entire life. So all of a sudden, my value went straight out the window. Like the things that made me feel like I had purpose were no longer there. So I was like, I need something to fix. Let me just find that handsome man. If he's got a goatee and a DOC, like that's mine. Like, let me just make sure that he's got a DOC and a goatee. So I have this friend that I end up making, I made him my boyfriend. I literally made him my boyfriend. Let me just ask you a question. Do you guys know how to date? Does anybody around here know how to date? Like, for real? You do? You know how to date? I'm not saying that because I'm like advertising. I'm asking because if you know how to date. Yeah, I'm saying for real, like, I do not know how to date. I literally do not know how to date. I'm going to tell you what the story looks like. You like me, I like you, we go out, we kiss, we do it, and now you're my boyfriend. Like that is straight up, I'm not even going to lie. Like, when I look at, no, it's not. So when I look at every relationship, I'm like, that is exactly the pattern that I'm seeing now, that's what it looks like, right? So if you like me, don't. So I've been able to see that when I got into this relationship, he was drinking, right? I didn't know he was drinking. He was hiding it until I knew, right? Then when I saw him just floored drunk, and I was like, ooh, project, let's fix that. And I dove in. I dove all the way in. Like, I dove all the way in. I dove so far in that it became like such a huge, unmanageable space for me because now I'm taking care of him instead of taking care of her. And I didn't even know what she was doing. I didn't even, like, I'm spending 5 days a week at this boy's house, and I'm like, oh, she's 18. She's a good girl. She's going to, not knowing she's having parties where people are trying to kill themselves at my house, right? Like, I had no idea. And, I did that for the first 3 years. While I was actively trying to save this guy and completely losing myself. I had started a new career. I went back to school when I was 45 and started a new career, started this new job. And when I look back at it, I'm like, man, I was a shitty employee. Like, I can't imagine what that employer must have thought of me because I was showing up wrecked. I was showing up wrecked on a daily basis because I was so consumed by whatever nonsense this boy was doing, right? But I still wanted to fix him and I still wanted to save him. And it wasn't until I finally took the suggestion of Coda, Al-Anon. It was actually Al-Anon that I stepped into first. And man, the gift of realizing that you can detach with love is so powerful, and allowing people the integrity of their own journey and not having to control what it looks like for them. Is anybody else hot in here? It's such a gift, and it started to give me a different way of living. And it when I say the practice was like so uncomfortable, and it still is really uncomfortable. Like, This was my first awareness of what it felt like to choose me first, right? Because I started doing this little other side sublet program, and I remember there was a day I was at work and I was like, I don't want to go to his house today. I don't want to, because I would go over there, I'd clean his house, I'd cook his food, I'd do all the things, all the wife things. Dumb girl. But I wasn't taking care of mine, right? Like, and so I'd be doing all those things for him, and then I'd be so exhausted I wouldn't take care of mine. And then I'd go home and there would be no groceries in my house, or I'd pack a bag and then I'd go home and unload the bag, pack another bag, and go back. And then when I started to see like the sickness of it, like there was this one night he was out, and I was there waiting, just, I'll be there in 20 minutes. I waited hours, and I got so sick, like waiting for every car to pass by. And I'm like, God, I'm going to go home. I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to take back my power. I went home. I stayed there for about 20 minutes, and I went back. Like, that is the sickness, right? Like, the sickness, this is the stuff that I will drink and get loaded over. It's like the stuff where I have no control over anybody else but myself. The spaces that I cannot make you feel better. I'm not a good nurse. I don't want to be a nurse ever, because like, I'm an esthetician. I take care of people and they feel good when they leave me. Like, they feel better, they feel prettier, they feel more relaxed, whatever it is, right? Like, don't put me in a nursing position, because I tell you what, I might drink over it, because I will not be able to make everybody feel better. And I'm super grateful that this program has afforded me the ability to know that I don't have to. I'm not in charge of your emotional response. I'm only responsible for how I communicate to you. I'm only responsible of how I bring my truth and deliver it in a healthy way, right? Like, I'm hoping to say something that somebody else understands around here, that we don't have to take ownership of anybody else's nonsense. Like, for me, having an entire life, I'm going to be 54 this week. I'm going to be 54 this week. What am I going to do? So let's just say almost 18 years or almost 19 years clean, that, you know, a large portion of my life was dictated by making sure that you're okay. And if you're not okay, then I felt super uncomfortable, and I felt like a failure, and I felt there was a lack of worth, and I felt like I did not have esteem. And because of this program and because of the steps, like, the first step gives me the opportunity to be honest, right? And when I don't know if anybody else has this ability to like obsess about anything else besides drinks or drugs, like sex. Anybody? Spending money? Anybody? 10 minutes? Okay, that's still a long time. Working too much, buying new shoes. I don't see anybody shaking you. It's just me. I'm the only one here with a problem. Hey, okay, he said. All right. So it's not about the drugs or the alcohol for me today. It's about the behaviors, right? And right now, when I went through that whole like little love story, truth is, like, my heart hurts, but I had to choose me, right? Because 8 years is a long time to be stagnant. And because I continue to do the steps around here, I'm choosing my voice, and I'm choosing that I want somebody who wants to go forward. And those are not things that I said for myself in the beginning of this relationship, right? Like, those are not things that I asked for myself. I did not even know the honest truth. When I was saying about how I didn't want to go to his house that day, my very first experience with choosing myself and how uncomfortable I felt, like, I spent the whole day obsessing about telling this person, I don't want to come over today. I want to go home and take care of my space, right? Like, the whole entire day, fear-based. I had a whole entire dialogue going on about what he was going to do, how he was going to act, how he wasn't going to like me anymore, and all the things, right? And the moment that I stepped into that space and used my voice and said what I meant and did what I needed to do, there was so much freedom. Like, I went home, turned on the music, I went to the grocery store, I filled up my, I did all the things, and I felt so good. Like, I don't really love cleaning my house. I like having a clean house, but I enjoyed it that day. There was a different level of freedom that came with just being able to take care of me, right? But I'll tell you, like, moving out of that relationship, I know when I'm hungry. I know when I'm angry. I'm going to skip lonely, because I tell myself that I'm okay, right? Like, I don't really say I'm lonely. I always say, like, I'm okay by myself. I'm good in my company. I am pretty good in my space. Isolation and solitude are two very different things. And I am having an experience with loneliness. And if I'm not spiritually well, I'll do some dumb shit. Like, I will do some dumb shit, and I'm going to tell you. Are you ready? So somebody will come along and be like, oh, you're so pretty and blah, blah, blah. You want to do something? I'm like, yeah, let's do something. Next thing you know, we're doing something. And because, right, this is a pattern of my behavior. This is how I date. I don't know how to date. And I'm aware of this now. And I'm saying out loud, like, I wouldn't mind having a little play date. I think I'll be okay with that. I think I would be okay with, I'm not ready to have a relationship, but I might be okay with having somebody to play with, right? I tell myself this story, all for the sake of loneliness, right? Like, I'm telling myself a lie, like because I know personally, I'm not really, that's not me. That isn't me. Like I said, I couldn't be the hooker. So like, I don't know how to have these, free sexual experiences as much as I wish I did, as much as I wish I could, because I really wish I was that girl. I wish I was that girl that was just like, I just need to get some. But I'm not. I have never been. And I've told myself that I want to just to have the experience. But guess what? I had the experience and I'm still not. I'm still not. Like, I have an anxious attachment style. I like reciprocated conversations. Even if we're saying we're just going to be friends and we're going to be play dates. No, that doesn't work for me. I'm just not capable. And all of this, when I do the step work and I look at it all, I'm looking at it from the space of like the insanity of compromising myself because I wasn't able to be honest with myself or with you, because maybe that's the only thing that you want from me is to have a little get down time. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's get down. And then after we get down, I'm like, where'd he go? I want to make him food. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm that girl. Like, we get down and I'm like, come over. I'm going to bring you some food. I want to feed you because that's what it's supposed to look like in my mind, right? So, like, I have become very clear with the fact that I'm not a play date. I need to address my loneliness because I'm perfectly capable of being in a space with myself, and I'm also pouring into the spaces that I love so that the voice in me, that I can continue to encourage it to come out and be bold and be honest and do things that I love, because esteemable things create esteemable people, right? And so like, oh, but let me just tell you, that's not the only story, okay? So here comes somebody else, and they're like, you want to go on a hike? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go on a hike. I've been asking people to go on a hike for the longest time. Nobody wants to go on a hike with me. Hey, let's go on a hike. So this boy comes along and asks me if I want to go on a hike. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go on a hike. I swear within 20 minutes, this boy is talking to me like no boy has ever talked to me before. At 5 minutes. And I'm just like, what the hell? Thank you, God, because this is also part of that 6-step experience that I'm telling you about, like where God is giving me the opportunity to have these experiences, to do different practices so that I can implement a spiritual principle in the space of the character defect. Like this space where I'm feeling alone, where I'm feeling lack of worth, where I'm feeling a need to connect with somebody in any type of way. So I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to jump and run, but like really not all people are good people. And we all come here with some amount of brokenness, and not everybody has the ability, or everybody does have the ability, but not everybody has the willingness to learn and grow from whatever the behaviors are. I'm super grateful that I get to. This is a gift. It's a gift to be able to learn and grow and change and evolve. And you know, I just started school a couple days ago. My brain is about to explode. I'm not even sure. I don't even know. I don't even know. But what I do know is, one more time, God has given me the opportunity to see by an experience how my character defects can rise up, because I'm afraid. Like, I'm scared. Like, what did I do? What if I can't do this? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I'm too old? Whatever the disease wants to tell me, right? Because my God doesn't talk to me like that. My God does not even talk to me like that. And sometimes I think I avoid him because I'm so uncomfortable, and I've been given such a gift around here that I'm afraid to share with him like my truth right now, because it's like I've been pulled so far from these spaces that I run back into them, because like the discomfort is still comfortable, right? The discomfort is still comfortable because I know it more than where I'm going. But I know that all of these things are in place for as an opportunity for me to grow, for me to choose a different spiritual principle to replace the defect. That's what it is. Like every defect of character has an opposing spiritual principle. If you don't know what it is, if you're functioning in a behavior that you're just like, this doesn't feel good, look it up. Google will give you the answer. And practice it, because it's going to show up 1,000 times if you ever get to this part of the journey. There's so much freedom in the space that I get to look at those spaces. I get to look at how I connect with people. I get to look at how I don't want to do that again. You know, like I don't want to go into a relationship just because we had sex and now you're my boyfriend. Like I want to have somebody that I choose because I actively see characteristics about you that are quality that I want, not because I need to fix. I don't want to choose somebody that has that needs an itinerary or needs a tutorial. Like I want somebody who's already there. And those are things that I never awarded myself with before because I didn't have the value and I didn't have the self-respect and I haven't had the self-worth because those were not things that were given to me, but this program has. And this program will do the same thing for you if you have a willingness to change your life. And it doesn't have to be all the shit that I talked about all in one big story, because I promise you there's going to be something else tomorrow. Like I said, I started school. I'm going crazy. I'm walking around slamming cupboards and doing all the weird things that I do when I don't know how to say how I feel. And then my other daughter, who, by the way, came home, right? Thank God we're having an experience. Thank God he held her back so that I could focus on one while she was over there, right? And now she's home. She's gone to where she's gone, and I'm able to focus on her, and her healing journey has begun also. Thank God for the ability to show up for my kids the way that I get to today. I'm super grateful that I get to be an example, even in the messiness. I'm grateful that I have children who are able to communicate with me in a way that they're like, you know, I'm not accustomed to seeing you like this. I'm not accustomed to seeing you move like this. And it's making me uncomfortable that you don't feel safe to say how you feel, right? Like, that is a gift. That is not something that I got growing up. I did not have the ability to say how I felt. I did not have the ability to say how I needed something, so I frantically searched for it in other people because I didn't know how to give it to myself. I have children who can do that today because of this program. You guys have awarded me a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm super grateful because I know that it's not done. There's still more for me out there. So thank you so much for letting me share.